What's your story that sounds like a lie, but is 100% true? When I was about 4 or 5, I always used to get a lot of colds, like pretty much every week, and my nose was running all the time, like considerably more than would be normal for a kid my age. My mom took me to the doctor to see if there was any reason why, and he managed to find a stone wedged up my nose. He reckoned it had been up there a couple of years as the nose tissue had grown around it. Apparently the best thing to do was put a drill up my nose and break the stone into pieces so it would come out. Yes, you read that right. Put a drill up a small child's nose. So anyway, that's what happened, and to be fair, it worked. It was obviously quite a scary experience given my age, however, and I still feel affected as an adult. Even to this day I'm still terrified of people putting drills up my nose. I've posted this story before. In a welding shop, atop a 12-foot ladder, running 3-inch chain welds along the roof seam of an aluminum trailer, I leaned out too far to get that one last weld and the ladder tipped. I literally walked down the side of the ladder as it fell to the ground without even coming near losing my balance. I did with a Cobra-matic Meiji gun in my hand and my hood down, so both encumbered and completely blind. The very best part? It was witnessed by my partner, who went around telling everyone that I had pulled off some wafu looking shit. A once in a lifetime move that would 100% end in disaster if I ever tried to replicate it. When I was 17, I was walking back from a New Year's Eve party in Melbourne with my brother and cousin. A possum was walking along the pavement towards us, and my cousin says, "Oh look, a ring-tailed possum. They're usually scared of humans." As he says this, the little fucker climbs up my leg and onto my back, digging in his claws. I screamed and started spinning in circles trying to get it off me, while my bro and cousin just pissed themselves laughing. I told my parents about it the next day and they didn't believe a word of it. Many years ago I was jumped by 3 guys after coming out of a bar. Somehow I was the only one standing at the end of the fight. It was entirely a fluke, and I don't even really remember how it happened, because it was over in a flash. I think one of them may have accidentally punched the other, and I must have just got exceptionally lucky with my desperate swings. I suspect one of them may have even slipped on some ice and hit his head on the way down. An acquaintance saw it happen from down the street, and she told the rest of my friends that I was some kind of MMA ninja, but it was truly just luck. For years I had this reputation as some kind of badass fighter, based solely on a 6-second interaction with 3 drunken idiots on a slippery sidewalk. My buddy and I were about 10 years old. Around the neighborhood was a long stretch of sidewalk, and sometimes semi-trucks would park what they hauled there and leave it there driving off in their cab. It was one of those grain or sand boxes that opened from the bottom to release the load and the top was not covered. As kids we didn't know what was in there and decided to climb up to see what was inside. As we started climbing up, a police vehicle slams his brakes next to the boxes, yells at us with a serious look on his face, "Are you having fun?" We both went up. He repeats himself, "Are you having fun?" We both reply, "Oh yeah." He yells, "Good," and he proceeds to do a vehicular donut and takes off, tires screaming. We both looked at each other like WTF. Got the SWAT team called on me and my brother. When we were 9 they had 2 helicopters surrounding us and a team with guns loaded pointing at the 2 of us. What was it for? Some crazy lady complained there were armed men going on a shooting rampage. Little did she know we were 9 shooting glow-in-the-dark Nerf guns. My uncle is in the D, and his building is in the middle of a city, and you would never guess that it's a government building anyway. It's kind of close to a sports arena that I visit every so often, so I get to park in the garage because it's, you know, safer to parking there than in the city. So anyway, after one of my sporting events, one of the agents opens the door for us from the command central place, and 2 guys follow me and my mom into the garage. That they probably don't belong there. They were drunk, and after some heckling my mom finally asked them if they knew where they were. They buried us asking how dare we ask them such a thing. Of course they know where they parked their car. Well, we didn't believe them and called the guy in the office. Cue an entire team with their guns marching down the stairsway and agents screaming at these 2 dudes that they're in the wrong place. Never seen anything like it. They turned pale and stormed off. Back in Russia, when I was 14, friends and I stumbled on an abandoned mansion in the woods outside of Moscow. We hung out there daily for a week because nobody was there, ate their food, used the tub, watched TV, etc. We rummaged through the house and found a bunch of guns in a basement, but didn't really think much of it. Went back to the city with my mom to buy groceries and such, then came back to continue our partying. On the way there, me and my friend were followed by a black Mercedes. Two men got out and screaming those other bitches started chasing us. We ran into the woods and hid under a huge log. The men ran right past us. One said that they had to find us. Another said that we are just malocasy milk suckers, aka very young, and shouldn't be much trouble. We stayed under that log for another hour to make sure they left and ran home. After that we avoided that area. Turns out the whole place was rigged with cameras, and we had no idea since it was mid-90s Russia. The people were Mayfair that sold weapons and saw us raiding the place on camera. When I was in my 20s, before we had families and bills, a couple of friends and I pooled together $250 each for a $1,000 raffle ticket. The prize, a round of golf with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, we won. So a couple of weeks later there we were golfing with Arnold. When he first arrived he greeted us, shook our hands, and had a very disinterested demeanor. We didn't think much of it. None of us had met an A-list celebrity before, and we didn't want to come off like excited groupies. We get to the 6th hole and Arnold is smoking a huge cigar and still hasn't said a word to us. Barely even looked at us. We are still trying to play it cool around him, well except my friend Doug. So Doug goes over to him and says something to the tune of, "Arnold, we kinda spent a lot of money for this, and we were hoping you'd kinda hang out more." So Arnold slowly looks up at Doug with a scowl, takes the cigar out of his mouth and says, "Hey Dougie, do you remember your first blowjob?" Doug is thrown off a little, takes a second and replies, yeah. To which Arnold then asks, "How did it taste?" We all start laughing, and then Arnold says, "Come on guys, I've been fucking with you. You guys took so fucking long." After that we all had a blast and Arnold was cool as shit the rest of the round. I somehow ended up in the employ of a crime family, but in a completely legitimate business. The company paid for a marketing campaign, but got bumped for the money, and so these guys as the owners decided to hunt the guy who did it down. They got his business address and staked out his office. Then they followed him home and waited there for a bit. When he next left they kidnapped him, took him to a warehouse, and beat the shit out of him to get him to return the money, but he swore blind he didn't have a clue what they were talking about. Turns out the guy they were after lived with his identical twin brother. An old guy have me a gun. I'm from the UK. When I was a kid there was a WW2 vet who lived across the road. He'd fought in North Africa and I'd always been really interested in stuff like that, and ended up doing odd jobs for him like cutting the lawn. I was about 15. One day he reached into his bedside table and pulled out a real gun, showed me it, and told me to take it into the park and fire a few shots off. I did this with my mates and 2 weeks later they did a thing at school about how dangerous guns are. I've no idea if this was related, but we shit ourselves as you just don't have guns in the UK at all. I grew up with Ryan Dunn from Jackass. He and I lived in the same neighborhood and were in 3rd grade together. For his birthday we went to Chuck E. Cheese and saw the movie Short Circuit. We all slept over his house, and while no one got their face peed on, I remember running around in a gorilla costume, haha. Dude was always fun. His bedroom window was above the front door and there was a little roof over the porch. He'd climb out there and down a pine tree next to the roof. We all did stuff like that as kids, not just him. My friends and I laugh because he became famous doing all the same shit we did growing up. Funny enough, when Jackass became popular I was watching it once, and my mom walked in the room. I said, "Hey mom, remember Ryan Dunn?" And she gasped and said, "Oh my god, he looks exactly the same." Haha. Although I hadn't seen him since the 3rd grade, it still hurt when he passed away. We were good friends back then, and childhood friends are some of the best. So, back when I was in high school, we had a snowstorm. Hundreds of us gathered on the playing fields for a massive free-for-all snowball fight. Some were a little rougher than others and would perform a snowplow, basically just tripping you up and kicking snow all over you. As I was wandering through the chaos, a couple of old lads noticed me and started to give chase. I knew what would happen, so I started sprinting like mad. Here's the unbelievably slapstick bit. Mid-stride, I scooped up some snow, made a ball, looked back, and lightly popped it straight up. A couple seconds pass. I look back again, to see it plop right on one of their heads, causing him to lose balance, and take his butt down with him. Getting away scot-free, I laughed as I made my escape through the crowd. Sometimes I wonder if they remember, and feel the embarrassment of getting done dirty like that.